Hi, I'm Vivian Davis, and I'm going to tell another story, calling them family tales, T-E-L-E-S, instead of T-A-L-E-S, but they all sound like T-A-L-E-S's. But anyway, so I grew up, when I say grew up, first, from the time I was 3 until I was 13, we lived on Highland Avenue that was in Alabama City in the Mill Village. And we lived at the end of Highland Avenue near, what is the name of that road? I'll think of the name of the road in a few minutes. But anyway, we grew up there. We moved in when I was 3. And I remember the day we moved in when I was 3. I remember us going in because our front yard didn't have any grass on it. It was all dirt. And we had a sidewalk that came from the street, and it was a paved sidewalk, went up to the porch. And I remember walking on that sidewalk, looking and thinking, wondering to myself, where's the grass? And that's what I remember about moving in that house when I was 3. But I do remember the day we moved in. And but anyway, my parents both came from large, poor families. My mother was the oldest in her family, and my dad was the youngest in his family. And he was about 10 years older than my mom. And my mom had me when she just turned, I guess she just turned 18. Yeah, she just turned 18. For some reason, I think she was 17, but my mother had me when she was a child. And she was 17 or 18 years old, and my dad was about 10 years older than her. And they both came from poor farmer type families, large families, and my dad was the youngest. And so when they moved in and bought their own house there in the Mill Village, they bought it for $13,000. I think they got the house for $13,000. And that was just a fortune to them, of course. And that was if I was 3, then that was in 1959. They paid $13,000 for that house and that land. And it was one of the bigger lots in the neighborhood. It had hardwood floors, and it had 3 bedrooms, and like a little utility room, and a dining room, and a kitchen, and a living room. And it had an attic fan and a tin roof, and we had a floor furnace, and we had an upright furnace in the living room. Anyway, a lot of my stories are about my mother, and like I said, don't judge my mother too hard. She did a lot of things that would be considered abuse now, but back then, I'm sure that, it was just the way it was. And of course, everybody has their trauma growing up, but my mother, I don't think she was trying to be cruel. She wasn't raised, and she didn't know how to raise. But anyway, one year she decided let me just tell you, one time my sister Portia decided she was running away, and she came to me. And she said, I am running away. I'm not staying. I'm leaving. I'm packing my stuff. And I was like, where are you going to go? She says, I don't know, but I'm leaving. I was like, well, gosh, I got to skip. I said, well, I can't let you go by yourself, so I'll pack my shit up too. And we got a little bag, and we put maybe a shirt in there and some toys. It was nothing. A few little things, nothing maybe some crayons, nothing. And we had our little bags, and we went and told Mama that we was leaving. And she said, all right, if you're leaving, then you're going to have to go down Hines Road. That was the name of the road I couldn't think of. There's a dirt road that Highland Avenue connects up to. It was dirt road then. I hear they paved it now. But anyway, it was a dirt road. And she said, if you're going to run away, you're going to have to go down the road. And she thought we'd be too scared to run away and go down that dirt road. And so we got our stuff, and we started walking up the hill, and we got to the top of the hill and started walking up the dirt road. And Mama started screaming and told us to come back, and then she whooped us for running away and made us go to our room. Well, it was right about that same time that she decided it would be funny to scare us as punishment for when we would do something wrong. She decided she was going to make us pack our stuff and she was going to dump us off in the middle of Hines Road as a way to scare us into doing what was right. And so she made us pack up some, I don't know what we did. We was always doing something wrong. And she told us to pack our stuff up, and she's going to take us, and she was going to drop us out in the middle of Hines Road, and she thought we was going to be really scared and all that. And she dropped us off with our stuff on Hines Road and stayed gone for about 10 minutes or 15 minutes and come back and got us. And that happened a couple of times, and after the second time we realized it was nothing, and so we didn't worry about it too much. And anyway, Aunt Marlene came and decided that she was going to visit, and she brought her kids, and Aunt Marlene had 5 kids. I don't think she had 5 kids at the time. She might have had 3 kids at the time at this age. I don't think Dale wasn't here, and maybe the twins weren't here yet. I'm not sure if the twins were born yet. But anyway, Marlene had her kids with her, and Mom was telling her about her brilliant plan about how she was teaching us a lesson by dropping us up on Hines Road, and they decided it would be fun to drop us all off on Hines Road and to teach us a lesson. So they packed us up in the car, and this time they didn't even let us have nothing. They just packed us all up in the car and told us they was dropping us up on Hines Road. Well, they took us and they dropped us out. Well, when they dropped us out, I said, "Come on, kids." I had decided I'd had enough, and this was the first time and my only victory, I feel like true victory I got against my mother and her bipolarism. I feel like my mother, now that I know what bipolarism, because I'm bipolar, I realized that she was greatly bipolar and maybe a little bit narcissistic. But anyway, I feel like this is my only time when I was a child, that I ever truly got my revenge against her. But anyway, I told the kids, I said, "Come on, we're hiding." So I made them get off on the side of the road, and we got down into a deeper area back behind some bushes where you couldn't be seen from the road. And I made them sit there and be quiet. And I told them if they wasn't quiet, I would beat them up. I told them, I said, "I'll beat the hound out of you." And it was hard. Let me tell you, it was everything I had to do to keep them kids quiet. They wanted to get up and play, and they wanted, well, what happened was after about 10 minutes, Mama Marlene's come around in the car and was rolling along slow, screaming our names. Well, the kids all started trying to get up. I was like, "You better be quiet, you better be quiet." And so this went on. I made sure it lasted at least 30, 45 minutes. I made sure that them kids stayed quiet and didn't make a sound. And so finally I figured, well, I've gone on long enough. I'm going to get killed if I keep doing this. I decided to get everybody up on the road. And I said, "Now, when we get up on the road, you act like you've been up here the whole time." Of course, they didn't say anything. They was just saying, "We don't know, But I'm sure they ended up telling Marlene later or whatever. But I never told Mama. Mama's mama and Marlene said, "Where was y'all?" Well, Mama never dropped us off on Hines Road again. It taught them a lesson. I think we scared them to death because we stayed gone. They couldn't find us for over 30 minutes, I'm sure. Anyway, that was my victory when I was a child against my mother and her craziness. It is a miracle that I survived my childhood. We did a lot of fun things. We did a lot of dangerous things too. And that's another story.